Hello and welcome back. I am Dr. Marilyn Ward with No Excuses, and today we are going to continue our conversation that I asked earlier in the week about what makes you different from the other. All right, so like what motivates you? Why are you more motivated than the next? All right, so let me take it back. It's going to be a very quaint conversation between you, you and me. And I want to just find out. So my colleague and I, Dr. Sarah Gordon, we have a podcast called The PhD Journey Unplugged. And we interview a lot of athletes, mostly triathletes, because we are still triathletes. We both competed in 2 half Ironman triathlons. So we are trying to figure out, because we are both still, researchers, health promotion leaders, but we're always trying to answer these questions. Kona. Hello, everybody. Say hello to Kona. Say hello to my dog. We're always trying to figure out what drives people, what motivates them, what makes you different from me or to the next person. So, some of our conclusions or some of what we have gathered so far, and I found this really interesting because as so many of us women are going through this perimenopausal shift, we're going through this journey, and what I'm seeing is, there are some of us that we're still out there, we're still getting it, we're still going after it. And some are like, freaking out, like what is going on, which I'm not saying that I haven't done that too. Like I've definitely freaked out, like what is going on? Why do I have weight gain and muscle loss? So not saying that, but some people just give up. And we had another episode where we talked about how different factors can cause us to stop doing what we love doing, to stop being a person that goes and works out every day. So our big question is like, what makes us different? Is it a intrinsic motivator? Like we just, you have a really good self-efficacy, a really good inner cheerleader. Were you exposed to something young that made you want to always go after more? Or did something happen to you, maybe negatively, that you're like, forget this, I'm never going to go through that again, and so I want to continue to thrive? Or were you born with it? Like, I do feel like I was born as a natural born leader. I come from, I think, a long line of strong, independent women. So that's one thing. I've also noticed a lot of the competitive triathletes that we interview, some of the things they have in common is they do have this intrinsic motivator, but we're trying to figure out where that came from. They are highly educated, most with a bachelor's or higher, master's, usually a master's, some PhD. And then, they also come from a higher socioeconomic status, so higher, income. So with all that being said, and that those are the things that we kind of know, we are trying to find, and I've had people ask me, well, what, why are you so driven? And, so I have to ask myself, oh, why am I so driven? Why can't I sit still? Why, am I always seeking something more? Why do I always, even when I have just a full-time job, which now I don't. Like right now I'm currently, finished my degree, searching for that next perfect position. And so I've had a lot of free time. But even I can remember working for my brother when he first started working with this company. I won't say the names. I worked for him full time, but I was still writing for the newspaper. This was in Richmond Hill, Georgia, and I wasn't even getting paid for it. I volunteered to write a health and wellness column weekly for the newspaper, Bryan County News, I think is what it was called. Before I started writing for the paper, I would go and teach wellness classes, again, for free at the Goodwill, because at Goodwill, they have a learning center, and they had a lot of low-income families coming through there, and they were always seeking for people to teach, classes. And I did. I knew that I could offer something. So even working a full-time job, I was always doing something extra, something more on the side. Now, I've been in the health and wellness industry for years. So during that time, I had been a trainer, had, I think, my bachelor's degree in health and wellness. I think I was in the midst or in the middle of obtaining my master's degree in sport and fitness management. So I think I always wanted to stay connected to my true roots because what I was doing for my brother had nothing to do with health and wellness. It did keep me physically fit because it was manual labor, but um, it wasn't in that industry. So I think that's why I was always seeking these extra jobs on the side or extra activities on the side until I came across, my profession, which I did. I ended up being a nutrition counselor for a company. They had 3 different locations, and I went and brought that extra service to these locations. So I loved it. During all of this, then and now, we are still in search of this phenomenon. Like, oops, hit my ring. This phenomenon of what makes you makes you be, searching, always searching. Like, why aren't we just content with being where we are? And not even so much content. Like, I can be content in my position, but why did you ever start competing? Let's say you're watching this right now and you're a triathlete. Do you just do one race and you're done? No, typically you do one, you catch the bug, and you want to keep going. But what makes you keep doing that? What makes you want to go after the higher position, get the highest level of degree that you want to go for? What makes you want to go from, like, I started out, I used to do 5Ks. That wasn't enough. I then went to the half marathon. I think I did 2 of those before jumping, right into a full marathon. And then I ran many, many fulls. And then it was like, oh, I went to the bike or to the shoe store, and I was like, I'm going to start biking. And I didn't know at the time that the gentleman that owned the store was a triathlon coach, a tri coach, if you will. And I caught that bug, and I was like, well, if you're gonna suck at one event, you might as well suck at 3. So that's kind of my joke about it. I don't suck at all 3 events. I say I'm fairly decent. I definitely like biking and running more than swimming. Swimming is my least favorite event, but I'm going to change that. I'm going to start saying swimming is my favorite so I can get better at it, right? I'm going to speak that positivity into existence. But so I caught that bug, and now I've been, I started off with a couple sprints, and then I did, I don't know, the next, wasn't really, I guess it was still called a sprint, but then I went and did the Olympic, which is a half of a half Ironman. And then I've done now 2 halves, and I'm going to say this out loud. Me and my colleague, we are both going to dive in and do the full. We're looking at next year. I'm not going to say a date, but it is next year. Giving ourselves a good full year of training for the full, because it's whatever that mileage is. I can do the math in my head, but it's a lot. But it scares me for sure. But again, back to the question being asked, why and what inside me, what inside you makes you want to keep doing that? When it comes to this, like, competitive racing, I'm not sponsored. I'm not getting paid for this. I'm just out there, I think maybe it's like I want to know how far I can go. I want to know how much I can push myself. I want to know how I can succeed or how I can exceed the expectations that I've put on myself. I want to, see if I can accomplish that. So definitely when it was with the degree, I think I knew way back when I always wanted to go as far as getting my PhD. I didn't want to just, stop at a bachelor's. So, but again, what is that? And maybe it's a multitude of factors. Maybe it's not just one thing. Maybe it's not just, this intrinsic factor and extrinsic as far, like the medals. Like I have a pile full of medals over here, and the t-shirts, the rewards that you get. But I think for me, it's more of the inner feeling of a reward than it is the tangible reward. But what is the one thing, or like I said, multitude of things that makes you keep going after this goal and this dream compared to the next person who doesn't even want to get off the couch, has no desire? And I'm only using this like comparing life with competitive racing. It could be something completely different, but even if we're talking career, you wanted to go, maybe you start off as a dishwasher, which I did, and you want to go all the way to the CEO. you know what is it that makes you want that? All right. Is it the feeling of success? Like what do you how do you determine success? What does success mean to you? Um, is it monetary? The higher the job, the higher the position, usually the higher the income. Uh, just the pure fact of, the the esteem, the feeling of being elite. Like, what is it? Like, this is such a like the secret answer to this question. And so I'm kind of like going to all my social media platforms and asking, because I do think there's a lot of things that play a role in this, in finding out the answer. And so I really, this is the one video that I really, would love your feedback. Maybe I'll end up making a survey and doing a fun little quantitative study with this. But I just think it's interesting because I know I'm not the only one who's out here doing this. Like, I'm watching all these, competitive races, and a lot of what I've seen, and like I said, in a lot of these triathletes, they come from these backgrounds of a higher socioeconomic status, higher education. Um, so were they born with it? Were they exposed to it? Were they trying to overcome something? And that's what we're trying to figure out. So please like, share, subscribe, follow. I can only reach so many people, so it's going to take help from you to help get this word out. We are trying to find answers. Thank you so much. Stay tuned. We'll see you next week.